Hello everybody, welcome to the Marketplace. Coming up this afternoon, Ghana's Supreme Court begins hearing a case that seeks to strike down a proposed anti-gay bill. Already there are concerns about the potential impact of the outcome on donor funding. We'll tell you why. Also coming up, French bank Société Générale responds to speculations it is exiting Ghana. It says it has not made any statement to that effect.
And remain to all our stakeholders and our shareholders that the news item being circulated in the media was not issued by the group nor by SGI.
Plus, inflation drops to 25% in April as food inflation slows down to its lowest in 13 months.
Month of April 2024, rate of inflation stood at 25.0%, indicating that between April 2023 and April 2024, general prices of goods and services went up by 25.0%.
My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. All right, thanks for staying with us, everyone. We begin with gay rights, a matter of contention right now in Ghana's Supreme Court. The court is being asked to strike down legislation that seeks jail time for people identified as LGBTQ. The country's donor partners will be monitoring this case closely as it may determine future support for Ghana's alien economy. Well, joining me in studio is data analyst with Joy News, Isaac Ofieje, to talk to us about why everybody's watching this case and the potential impact. What is the interest of our donor partners in this matter?
Well, so you have varying views over there. The first indication we got was actually from our own finance ministry, who said that the bill risks the 3.8 billion package of the World Bank support. And that was actually what the finance ministry told us. Now, after the finance ministry gave this indication, we also had the IMF also commenting on the bill, saying that they are monitoring events, and we know what happened today. But let's go to the bone of contention, which is the World Bank, which are also monitoring. They say that, well, they value inclusivity and they are monitoring what's going on in Ghana. So currently, how much are we expecting from the fund, and why must we be worried even if the fund says that, they are tying the disbursement to the outcome of this bill? So we are looking at the IMF program, for instance, this year, 2024. These are the three big funding sources in terms of foreign aid. We have some $720 million coming from the IMF, which will come in tranches. Same with the World Bank. And yesterday, you were saying on the Super Morning Show that we are about receiving some $250 million. I think it's this morning, right? $250 million from the IMF for the stabilization fund. All is tied to that $3 billion IMF bailout package. But in total, we are expecting $620 million from the World Bank this year and some $44 million from the AFDB. So in total, $1.4 billion is what is at stake at the moment. And the big bone of contention, the big guy here, which is the World Bank that everybody is talking, including Bloomberg, we are expecting $620 million from the fund.
Speak of Bloomberg, they were reporting today that we risk losing some $20 billion in debt restructuring. Just to talk about some of the concerns that are being raised about the potential impact of the outcome of this hearing on donor funding. How critical is that?
In fact, all these monies you see here, $1.4 billion, their disbursement is tied to a successful debt restructuring, which is a condition for unlocking all these monies. Why has it become important? More than $30 billion US external debt has been tagged as unsustainable. And so we have to cut more than some $10.5 billion from it. And the total amount that we've earmarked for restructuring is the $20 billion that Bloomberg is talking about. And that $20 billion, we are hoping to cut, truncate about $10.5 billion from it. And the reason why they are tying it to the World Bank funding is because, once you get a needed financing assurance, That is when the IMF will release their money, which will trigger these two sources, the World Bank and the AFDB. So you see the connection here. So the connection has to do with getting the needed financing assurances, which is tied to a successful debt restructuring, of which we've earmarked that $20 billion that you just spoke about, and Bloomberg also mentioned.
Is that precedent, though, because there are some African countries, for instance, who have upheld anti-gay rights and who were doing business with the World Bank and the IMF, if you like, or the AFDB. Is there anything we can point to say, well, this will happen to this country because they refuse to uphold gay rights?
Well, I'm sure tomorrow we'll be talking about the political angle to this, but in terms of the economic angle, the president of Ghana has to wear his thinking cap now because, I mean, he has to, think through the political effect and the economic effect. But we may have a certain hope because in terms of going to the Bretton Woods institution for funding, I always say that Zambia is actually our IMF mate. Why? Because we are all doing debt restructuring. We are all doing almost the same thing. And whatever is happening in the Ghanaian economy, similar thing is happening in the Zambian economy. And for you to know, 2005 was when Zambia, introduced a law on LGBTQ. They cracked down just a year ago, 2023. Now, guess what? Although they are actually cracking down on LGBTQ plus activities, Zambia has received a total of $560 million from the IMF and other tied funding from the World Bank.
Outcome.
Absolutely, and let me read this. There's a newspaper in Zambia called, I wish we could show it, the Daily Mail. The same day, the date was, I think, somewhere March 2023. They say the Sister Act, criminal. Sister Act here, they are referring to, gay activities or LGBTQ plus activities. That same day was when they got their IMF disbursement. I think their first tranche that came in. And so it's a whole dicey situation. We do not know. Maybe what is happening in Zambia may be a little bit different, but that is actually the template now. Not just Zambia, but also, Uganda also finds itself in that same quagmire. And they are also, still benefiting from donor funding from the IMF and then also the World Bank. And so that's actually the situation at the moment.
We are going to have you back tomorrow, Isaac Ofeje. Thank you so much as we continue to watch this landmark bill. But joining me on Zoom is Professor Williams Pepra, also Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University, to talk a bit more about this. So you've been listening to us. How critical is the outcome of this hearing on the anti-gay bill to the future support from donor partners?
So this issue, as we are discussing, is very critical. The main thing is that most of our donor partners, they have their core values. Some of them include promoting inclusion and non-discriminatory acts. What we are, the law we are seeking to pass in Ghana may seem to go against some these two main principles, promoting inclusion and non-discrimination. So as a country, we are at the crossroad now. We are looking at our cultural values and whether we want to be self-reliant or also reliant on donor partners. In the case of the World Bank, they use the word may because they look at the severity of the penalties before they make a decision. So I'll give an example. I think you were talking about it. The case of Uganda, there are penalties for engaging in these acts, unlawful same-sex act or LGBTQ act, includes death penalty, life imprisonment, and then for those promoting the act, is also some years of imprisonment. And when we look at Zambia, their terms are different from the penalty are not severe as the one they have in Uganda. If you look at our laws, also what we are proposing to pass in our laws, we don't have death penalty, we don't have life imprisonment, but we have term of imprisonment. So the severity in the case of Ghana is not as the case of Uganda. So in the case of Uganda, World Bank has halted new loans. In the case of Zambia, World Bank granted them new loans. So if we go on the line of the Zambian situation, Ghana may still continue to get some loans because our penalty or punishment is not as severe being promoted by Uganda. So that may be my assertion. However, the donors may review our case and look at the severity of punishment, and they may take a decision on that. So that is the way probably we may have to look at it. If our penalties are not so severe as the one like Uganda, where it includes death penalty, I'm sure we'll still be getting some donor funding coming in to support our economy.
Well, while we talk about donor funding, we are expecting some $250 million from the World Bank. We are expecting that they approve that next month, which is supposed to go to supporting our financial sector, which is facing a bit of a challenge. How critical is that support?
This is coming at the right time. I remember the central bank governor spoke about it, that they were seeking about $250 million to support the banks. We know that the debt restructuring affected some banks in terms of their operation and their capital reserves requirements. If we really want to have our financial system become stable and solid, this funding or money coming in will really cushion our banks. And also at the backdrop where we have seen that exchange rate is affecting our capital requirement values. So this money will really position our bank very well to be able to continue to support the economy. The Bank of Ghana's reports shown that the banks were not lending loans to or giving out more new loans, which is a concern for a growth in the economy. So this money coming in will propel the banks to also be able to give additional loans to customers in a way to propel the economy to function very well and also to grow.
Well, great stuff. While we talk about the financial sector, we've been monitoring stories about rumors about the exit of SG Bank from the Ghanaian market after 2 decades. Well, there has been news making rounds about the French bank's departure. Well, the bank has been responding to the speculations at its annual general meeting today. It says the information is not coming from them. Managing Director Hakeem Wizani says the bank remains committed to its group's strategy to strengthen its capital base and streamline the operations of the bank. Take a listen.
What our Société Générale Group CEO, in line with the group strategic roadmap, has been saying constantly since September 2023. It's not new. The group is pushing a global review of its business portfolio, targeting streamlined, more synergetic and efficient business model, while strengthening the group capital base. This has been said for, once again, since September 2020. In the context of this strategic review for the group, and following decisions taken and publicized by Société Générale Group on some activities over the world, in France, in Africa, elsewhere, some rumors have indeed taken roots regarding SG Ghana. But it's important to mention and to remain to all our stakeholders and our shareholders that the news item being circulated in the media was not issued by the group, nor by SG Ghana. So we don't want to comment further, but really I insist on the fact that what has circulated in the papers is not by SG, is not by SG Ghana.
It's not by SG. You heard Hakeem Wizani say that the annual general meeting of SG Bank. Quick thoughts, Professor Pepa. Does this settle the speculations that have been making rounds this week?
It's come at the right time because it's good so that investors and shareholders who are interested in SG will know that, I mean, there's that kind of continuity in terms of their strategic plan. However, whatever caused this rumor or this news to go out that SG is seeking to exit, we may still have to keep our eyes on it because we know that there are some companies exiting Ghana because of some uncertainties. But SG's if they are committing to stay, it's good for the country, and it also assures that the bank is stable. However, if they also have in their mind to exit, whoever will purchase the shares, I'm sure the books of SG is solid enough. It's not a bank that is in serious distress as other banks. Just that is a change of shareholder ownership. That's a major concern because it may come with other strategic changes. So I'm sure, and such decisions are not just taken overnight. It may take a long time. And
right.
If it has not been announced on the exchange, it means that it's true. SG is not exiting from Ghana.
Right, and just before we let you go in a minute, today we have received the inflation figures for the month of April, where we've seen a drop to 25% from 25.8% the previous month. Basically, there's a slowdown in the rate of food inflation. We've seen the lowest in 13 months. Your thoughts?
I mean, so Darrell, this is a trend for Ghana. When the market gates, when there's a lot of, we start having crop season ending and food is coming into the market, we see inflation dropping. This is the normal trend for Ghana. If it will not be the issue of exchange rate issues, our food inflation should drop in the coming months in May and in June and in July. This may cause the inflation rate to be a little bit lower. However, the exchange rate situation in our country is causing prices to move up. This is not too normal. It's the normal trend for Ghana that we see that May, June, specifically, food inflation causes the overall inflation to go.
All right. Professor Williams-Pepra, Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University, thank you so much for your insight and perspectives on financial matters we are following for you today. Well, so now we can hear from the government statistician who addressed the press area.
Inflation stood at 25.0%, indicating that between April 2023 and April 2024, general prices of goods and services went up by 25.0%. This 25.0% indicates a slowdown of 0.8 percentage points between the rate that was recorded in March 2024 of 25.8% relative to 25.0% for the month of April 2024. We saw a contrasting trend between food and non-food inflation, while we saw a decrease in non-food inflation from 29.6% to 26.8% for the month of April 2024. The reverse was the case for non-food inflation, as it increased from 22.6% to 23.5%. The rate of inflation for 26.8% that has been recorded for food inflation is the lowest in the last 13 months. From a regional perspective, the Upper East region recorded the highest rate of inflation of 42.5%, which was close to 4 times the rate that was recorded by the Otu region, which had the lowest of 11.3% for the month of April 2024. For inflation on locally produced items and imported items, we continue to see the dominance of inflation for locally produced items as it recorded a rate of inflation that was 2.2 percentage points higher than the rate of inflation for imported items, specifically with locally produced items recording a rate of inflation of 25.7% relative to 23.5% for inflation on imported items.
All right, you're watching The Marketplace. Time to talk tech. And this week we've been talking about the exit of foreign companies from the country. Some of them are tech-based industries. For instance, Global, we have Jumia. And, well, to make sense of the latest happenings, I'm joined on Zoom by Henry Kobler, who is lead for Eyes of Africa, who has been touring the whole of Europe, should I say. Welcome back to the country, Henry. And so, yeah, that's big news this week. We've been talking about the exit of some multinational firms. Yesterday, we got insight in some of the companies like Glovo and Jumia, whose food delivery service was ground to a halt sometime last year. Just talk to us, first of all, about the difficulties faced by such companies in the tech industry.
Thank you very much, Daryl. So let's picture this. I mean, when it comes down to tech companies, you're always going to cite profits coming in, and so that becomes a general part where any company that's coming into any of the sectors with tech is sort of looking at profit. And so if we're looking at Glovo specifically, you would realize that they had looked at coming into the sector with almost about $30 million to fund the businesses. And so they sort of had to get into almost about 5 countries in Africa and basically had some level of operations coming in. And we had looked at the marketing prospects and all of it, which they had put in. I mean, it was prominent that it was going to have quite a number of milestones to sort of reach, and again also to be some level of competition from international businesses that are already existing in Ghana already, such as Uber, Yango, and all of that. I mean, they had always looked at modifying the business levels to sort of fit the environment, and so even though they were ride-hailing services, they had also added delivery services to it, and so that comes into a huge competition with Glovo that was coming in directly to handle delivery services. For me, definitely I can cite other regulatory issues that were sort of affecting it, again, competition as well, but they are actually citing profits coming in as low, and so they would want to focus on other sectors or other countries that are looking more promising and profitable. And that's a huge blow to us because, again, if you're having huge companies that are sort of putting in quite a huge investment directly into the point, and also being able to bring the advantage of technology to some level of the sectors which we're having. I mean, if you're looking at the delivery systems, there are quite a number of delivery companies that have sort of sprung up to run this. No proper regulatory points to it. It's very uncertain because we've had political influences coming in as against it as to whether they're banning Okada or they're actually legalizing it. And so it's really a very uncertain side for them as well. And then you having all these international companies also coming in with this. For me, generally, I think that it's a huge blow. That could definitely affect quite a number of businesses that are around and were using these services. And again, we're looking at how the alternatives will turn out. I mean, we've had companies that have come in where they started certain concepts and business ideas and it failed, but you had other companies also coming to use the same business models and they sort of succeeded. And so for me, it's a huge blow. It's going to affect a lot of businesses. It gives a sense of the environment to international businesses that are going to come in. And so a lot of analysis has to be done by a lot of the businesses that would want to invest money in this region. And I feel that it's going to be a bitter pill to swallow, especially in the growth of our tech sector.
Well, you think that this would open up opportunities for the local tech-based businesses, but they are also not doing so well, at me.
Yes,
based on the current economic conditions.
I do. I mean, opportunities are always open, but one of the things about tech-based businesses is always investment. How much are these local businesses looking into investing into the environment? How have they sort of pushed this to that level where they have some level of experience? Remember, the Glovo is sort of in almost about 30 countries, inclusive with Ghana, and so if they've had that experience all over different countries, different dynamics, different regulatory settings, different opportunities and all of that, and they actually do the analysis and say Ghana is not really worth it, I think that it gives a bit of concern. It's not really just about setting up local businesses. It's more about the environment these businesses are going to be set up, the opportunities that are there, the kind of investments that these local businesses are willing to spend to make sure that they can actually succeed. And that becomes a bit of concern for the R&Ds of a lot of companies that would really want to come into existence into the sector.
All right. I know you really want to talk about the 3I Africa Summit that is supposed to be taking place, being organized by the Bank of Ghana and DBG, but we've run out of time. We'll make time and talk about it another time. And we're good to see you as always. And that's it for The Marketplace. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com. /business. Yes, it's back and it's live. You can check out the day's latest stories from over there, including news from SG saying that the exit rumors are not coming from them, according to the head in France, according to the managing director, rather, I should say, myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching. We'll be back same time tomorrow.